guys, sorry for the bit late start, but thank you once again for joining me for Cooking with Coach presented by Coach Misha Live. What we're going to be making today is a pretty simple balsamic vinegar chicken. It's going to be basically just chicken with a balsamic vinaigrette, okay? And we're also going to have some greens on the side as well as some rice optionally, if you want, of course. So guys, all the ingredients I have right here. We have chicken, then we have asparagus, cherry tomatoes, then we have some olive oil, salt and pepper, and then finally rice. And of course, you guys can use whatever sort of source of carb you want. If you're trying to go low carb, you could just omit the rice completely. You could also go with sweet potato or regular potato or anything like that, okay? Next up, we have the ingredients for our vinaigrette. What we have here is balsamic vinegar, Dijon mustard, garlic, some red pepper flakes, and some honey. And optionally, if you have some sort of herbs like parsley, that wouldn't be bad as well. Okay? Awesome. So we're going to start off by just gathering all of our ingredients. So, to start off with, I have my chicken right here. I actually only have, there's only a tiny bit in here, so I'm going to have like 2 pieces of chicken, but that's going to be fine. So I have that. In addition, I'm going to go ahead and grab my asparagus and cherry tomatoes. These are actually grape tomatoes, but I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. And here's my asparagus. And next up, I'm just going to keep the rice in the freezer for now. No need to get it out right at this moment. Have my salt and pepper, as well as some olive oil. I'll move all this over here. And then the ingredients for the vinaigrettes. I have my Dijon mustard, my balsamic vinegar, honey, and I would recommend just maybe 1 clove of garlic per pieces of chicken. So I'm just basically doing 1, so I'm just going to have 1 clove of garlic. But if you're cooking for 2 people, you could go with 2. See? Have 1 clove of garlic. I believe that is it. Oh, red pepper flakes, that's right. I only have a little bit of red pepper, like literally the tiniest amount here. You probably can't even see that. But that'll be fine. You can really adjust that just depending on how intense you want it to be. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to prep our chicken. How I'm going to cook the chicken, it's going to be on the pan, so pan seared. I'm going to sear it for 3 minutes on one side, on about medium to medium high. Flip it, also 3 minutes, and then after that, I'm going to flip it one more time, put it on low, and let it cook there with a lid on for 5 minutes, alright? In the meantime, we'll be able to prep the remaining ingredients there. So, what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to grab my stuff that I need to basically flatten up the chicken breast. I recommend flattening it out just to make sure that it cooks a little bit quicker, because otherwise the heat takes a lot more time to go completely through and completely cook off the chicken. You definitely want to make sure that it's cooked all the way. Gonna have to move some of this stuff. So I'm going for about 5-ish ounces of chicken. Alright. See. Alright. I'm just going to season my chicken with just salt and pepper for now. And then we're of course going to add this glaze on at the very end whenever everything's back in the pan all together. So my one piece of chicken is about 2.7 ounces, so I need about another 2.25 to round it off to an even 5 ounces of chicken. Let me know how you guys are doing, if you need me to slow down, if you guys are doing good. .6, I'll take that. All right, perfect. Always make sure you're washing your hands well. Alright, so from here, I'm going to set my pan on the stove, set my skillet that is, on medium to medium high, just to get that warmed up, and by the time that it's warm, we'll already have prepped our chicken and we can throw it straight on. Dang, not this time, Mike. Hopefully next time we'll get him. I'm gonna go ahead and mute real quick. Hopefully we'll do it. I did see Feeding the Frasers posted what looked like a really good recipe for wings. Let me go ahead and post that in the chat. I don't know if they're like baked or what, but it looked really good. So I'm hoping if all goes well, we'll be able to make these wings. So let me see. I don't know if there you go. Alright, check that out. Let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in making. I've always wanted to make wings. I'm still looking to find a good recipe because I don't have like an air fryer. I know you can make pretty good stuff with air fryers. We have our pan heating up there. That'll get up to temperature any moment now. I'm gonna go ahead and wash my knife real quick. So from here, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and just wash my veggies here. So I'm gonna take a few of these grape tomatoes, give them a quick rinse. Alright. As well as my asparagus spears. I'm going to go ahead and half these. Don't necessarily need them to all be in long strips. Give that a quick rinse. Just trying to take all the pesticides that might be on there off. Our pan looks up to temperature, so I'm going to go ahead and throw on our chicken. Awesome. Awesome, so I just went ahead and set my 3 timers. You can basically set one for 3 minutes, set one for 6 minutes, and set one for 11 minutes. That way it just helps speed everything up, and all the timers are there. So our chicken will be done in 11 minutes here. So we have that time right now to prep our veggies and our glaze, which will give us more than enough time. Alright, so we have our asparagus, as well as cherry tomatoes, or grape or whatever. Just going to give these all a nice pat dry. Definitely don't want to make sure, or you do want to make sure that they're all nice and dry. There's not a whole lot of moisture, because otherwise that's just going to take a lot more time to evaporate off in that pan. Alright. So from here, just gonna take maybe this bowl, that should be fine. Just gonna throw the asparagus in there. Might need to actually grab a larger bowl. Next up, we're going to go ahead and half these tomatoes, alright? So I'm just going to move these all over here. I'm going to grab actually just a smaller cutting board. And one at a time I'm going to half these and then throw them in with that. That is our first of 3 timers. Chicken's already looking pretty good, nice and seared on one side. Awesome, so we have all of our veggies right here. I'm going to throw that off to the side. Next up, what we're going to need to do is prep our vinaigrette slash sauce. So, I'm going to I'll just grab this bowl, that should be totally fine. I'm going to start off with my garlic, because that's really the only thing that needs prepped. Everything else is just amounts that we're just measuring. See. I'm gonna go ahead and mince this garlic. There's our second timer, excuse me. Perfect. And I'm going to give this chicken one more flip. A little bit of olive oil. I'm going to lower the heat to low. It was on medium to medium high. Lower the heat to low now. I'm going to cover it with a lid. I'm going to let that go for about 5 minutes. Awesome. So, just finishing this up. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in. with the rest of our ingredients. Alright, awesome. So, from here, guys, what we're going to need is the rest of our ingredients, and that's going to be Dijon mustard, balsamic vinegar, red pepper flakes, and honey, as well as some olive oil. Alright? So we're going to add in about an 1/8 cup of balsamic vinegar. So I'm just going to use this 1/4 cup and put in about half of that. So again, if you're cooking this for more than one person, I'm just cooking this for myself. I would add about a 1/4 cup if you're doing it for 2 people. But again, for me, since I'm just cooking for myself tonight, that should be good. I'm also going to need about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. About 1 tablespoon. There we have that. Next, we're going to need about half a tablespoon of honey. Half a tablespoon. And if you really want to make it no sugar, you could totally omit that. That's completely fine. I'm just going to go ahead and add it by mass or by weight. For me, it's just a little bit easier. So it's going to be about 10, 11-ish grams. And just about there. There we go, perfect. And don't necessarily worry about that that honey. It's gonna cook off a good amount, not completely, but it will cook off a good amount whenever we throw it on in the pan, that is. Now that was our chicken timer, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the lid and remove the chicken onto a plate to hold on to on the side. So you guys can see here, I know you couldn't see that, but this is our prepared chicken. It's nicely browned. Should be cooked all the way through, hopefully, fingers crossed. But now, what I'm gonna do here, guys, is I'm gonna go ahead and quickly just soak up some of that olive oil and some of that grease that was in the pan just with a paper towel. Also try to just mop up some of the little crusty bits, if you want to call it that, of the chicken. And then I'm going to turn the heat back up because we had it pretty low. I'm going to turn the heat back up to about medium. And I'm going to just put 1 tomato in, just kind of gauge the temperature. And whenever it's come back up to temperature, I'm going to throw in the rest of our veggies in there. They're going to cook there for about 5 or so minutes. And then we'll continue from there. Okay? So I'm going to throw back all our stuff. I believe we're still going to need A little of salt here, and a little bit of pepper. I know you guys can't see that. Let me go ahead and switch back. As well as our red chili flakes. Now, as far as the Dijon mustard goes, we're going to go with about a half tablespoon per one person, so about a teaspoon and a half. I'll go with that. If you guys have seen my last streams, I really am not a big fan of Dijon mustard, so I might actually just go with 1 tablespoon, or 1 teaspoon, that is. And that's fine by me. I'm going to go ahead and clean up my area a little bit. Throw back some of these ingredients. And then I'm going to whisk all this together. That honey made it a little bit harder to stir, so we're just going to make sure everything is pretty well incorporated. It's going to take a little bit of effort to try to emulsify that balsamic vinegar and oil, because I tend to not want to mix, but we'll get there eventually. So from here, as you might have heard there, the pan came up to temperature. Let me go ahead and do that. Perfect. And it's going to start cooking there. We kind of just want to soften up some of the vegetables. Go ahead and move the overhead view. Get that almost there. Perfect. So, you guys can see now, we have our pan with all of our veggies on it. I honestly probably should have done this in 2 parts. I think I will actually. I'm going to set my asparagus in this little bowl here. Yeah, because it's just going to be a little bit of a pain to deal with all of that. So I'll soften up the tomatoes a little, and then I'll remove those and then put back the asparagus to let that cook a tiny bit. Awesome. So I'm going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil. Just to let that cook for a little bit. And again, make sure to keep whisking or stirring your balsamic vinegar dressing. You guys might be able to see it right there. And our chicken is still just resting on the side. It'll come up to temperature a little bit. So the process from here is we're going to let the tomatoes cook. Just a little though, not too much. Set those to the side. Put in the asparagus. Let that cook as well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our chicken, add in the tomatoes, and we're going to drizzle the balsamic dressing on top of everything in the pan on about a medium-ish heat. We want to let it reduce down. We want to deepen the flavors a little bit there. Then from there, we'll just remove it. And concurrently, I'm going to cook my rice. I like using the Trader Joe's packs, which are basically pop it in the microwave for 3 minutes and then it's done. That makes, I believe, 2 cups of rice, and I'm just going to use 1 cup. So I'll just half that, and then I'll put everything on a bed of rice. And then from there, we'll pretty much be good to go. I'll give this tomato just about another minute or so. You can see it's starting to char a little bit, especially on the backs of the tomatoes right there. That's what we're looking for here. Again, occasionally whisking our balsamic dressing. Alright guys, from here, I'm going to go ahead and set that off to the side. I'll just put in this little bowl right here. Then I'm going to add the asparagus in here. I'm going to let that cook for a little bit. Alternatively, you can choose to potentially just cook these in the oven. I find it's kind of a mixed bag for me. Sometimes they turn out too mushy and stuff. So typically I don't like to do it that way, but you totally can if you'd like. I'm going to add in a tiny bit of olive oil. There we have that. I'm going to go ahead and add in my rice. So I believe this is brown rice. I don't remember if this is organic or not. I think it is. But as you can see here, this is how the packets come in. You just throw it in the microwave for 3 minutes, placing this side down, and it's just like self-ventilating and stuff. So 3 minutes in there, and it'll be good to go on that end. You can already hear that these are charring up nicely. Veggies other than asparagus? You could use a lot. I would recommend broccoli. You could use zucchini. I'll just go ahead and switch this back for a sec. You could use broccoli, zucchini. You could use stuff like carrots. I'm not sure what flavors will go well with the balsamic glaze. What you could do, alternatively, is just have the chicken with the balsamic glaze and nothing else. So then you could pretty much have just like any veggies you want. You could just have, oh, actually, you know what? A balsamic chicken salad might be pretty good. So you just have a normal salad of greens, like spinach. You could use maybe kale if you like bell peppers, red onions. You could use the tomatoes. Mix that all up, and then you just put the balsamic chicken, and you can cut it into strips and throw that on. That could be a pretty good idea. But yeah, zucchini would be pretty good. I don't know how you'd want to cook it ideally. Maybe in the oven might be better rather than pan roasted. But yeah, a whole lot of different ways. And broccoli would be pretty good. I like broccoli certain ways. Trader Joe's has pretty good broccoli, and their broccoli, I think you can also steam it. Like, let me move this for a sec. You can also throw it in the microwave, I believe. It says it's microwave in this bag. I don't really do it that way, but you totally can. But yeah, sauteed broccoli would work pretty well too. Eventually, I need to do a stir fry. I used to make a pretty good stir fry a few months ago. I usually go in phases of what I make. So I make one food or one dinner basically, the same thing every single night, like for like a month or two, and then I go to something different, and then I just keep switching like that. And I remember I used to make a pretty good stir fry with rice, any sort of protein, chicken or steak, and then with like eggs as well, to add a little bit extra protein. So hopefully we'll hit that at some point. Awesome. So for my rice, I'm just going to go ahead and measure out about a cup. Let me see. A little bit more off there. Perfect, that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to put this rice on the bottom. Then I'm going to throw everything else on top. So, from here, let's switch over to there. So what I'm going to do is, this is cooked off nicely. I'm looking for it to be. I'm going to set this off to the side. We're going to be throwing it right back in, and realistically, if you had a big enough pan, you could keep these in here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the heat to about medium to medium low. Add a tiny bit of olive oil. Then I'm going to throw back in the chicken. Okay. Throw my piece of chicken here. Throw that, and that. And then I'm going to throw back in the asparagus. I just want to have the chicken in first just so it still makes contact with that. And then just kind of bring everything else kind of around it. Just like that. One little tomato straggler in there. Awesome. And then from here, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glaze here, Then I'm gonna pour this all over it. I'm just gonna make sure everything is nice and covered. Hopefully you guys can still hear me all right. I'm going to go ahead and let this reduce down for about 3 to 4-ish minutes. Again, on medium-low to medium, about that heat setting. In the meanwhile, I'm going to clean my area here. So I'm just going to clean everything else up, just so then, again, as always, we have minimal cleanup to do afterwards. Awesome. Be sure, guys, if you are not following right now, if you're not following the channel, to give me a follow. It's completely free, and hopefully it should help notify you whenever I go live. And then, as always, I'm going to post, hopefully, this weekend's recipe tomorrow. That way you guys will be able to tune in and hopefully cook along with me, because it's always a lot more fun whenever you guys are doing it alongside me. Otherwise, if you guys just want to watch, get ideas for future recipes for you and your family, that's totally fine as well. Awesome. Still letting that simmer off a little bit. I think I'm actually going to cut the chicken whenever it comes off. So I'm just going to grab my cutting board and have that ready, just to make it a little bit easier, because I don't necessarily want to cut it. Usually I would just cut it with like one of my, like a knife, but since I'm going to be having it like in this little, on this little bowl, or I don't know what you want to call it, pan, dish maybe, I don't want to be cutting into that, so I'll just cut it into small-ish strips whenever it's done. And this only has, we have probably less than 5 minutes left of this whole recipe. All we're doing now is just playing the waiting game. Tiny bit more time left. Awesome, almost ready to go. Just a little bit more time. gonna give this a last flip here. Perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill the heat on that. I'm going to move it over. Then, give me one moment. Awesome. So from here, guys, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna throw this chicken onto this. It's already a small enough piece, so I'll throw that there. And you can totally just have it like this and then just cut it in here, but just for myself, I'm gonna have it on there. Then I'm gonna put the rest of this kind of maybe just around the whole thing, and then that balsamic dressing, that balsamic vinaigrette is going to go into the rice, and it's going to give it a little bit of flavor as well, which is going to go pretty nicely. So I'll just mix everything around a little bit. Honestly, probably should have just kept the rice on the bottom to keep the integrity, but that's alright. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and cut this up to relatively small, just fork-sized pieces. And you could have also, I probably should have done this, but really not that big of a deal. You could have, once the chicken was done, cut it and then in the strips put it into the the balsamic bath, if you want to call it that. That way it would have penetrated into the chicken a little bit better, but otherwise this is a totally fine method. It still most likely goes in, just not as thoroughly. Awesome. Then from there, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it right onto here. Perfect. Yeah, balsamic bath. Keep an eye out. I'm sure Lush will have some sort of balsamic vinegar bath bomb out at some point. The next hot trend for 2021. Balsamic baths for exfoliating and stuff. Awesome. It does look pretty good, Mike. Hopefully you'll make it sometime soon. Just doing a little bit of last minute cleanup. Awesome. So, let me just spread that out a little bit. Throw the side. And here we have it. Let me go ahead and get the close-up view. We have our balsamic chicken with veggies. There we go. Perfect. So that was just under an hour, including our late start here, guys. Thank you all so much again for joining me for another episode of Cooking with Coach. Be sure to tune in this weekend. I'm not exactly sure if we'll do Saturday or Sunday or 12 or 1, just depending on what Steelers game is going on or anything like that, and how late I post the recipe, because otherwise it'll then most likely be on Sunday to give you guys a little bit more time to gather ingredients. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Hope you guys have a good night, and I'll catch you later.